Okay, hi guys. Today we're going to be looking at equivalent fractions. Now some people do look at this and they get a bit scared because they see fractions which they're not maybe the best on, and they see a word like equivalent, which is a little bit scary sometimes, okay? But they're actually really quite easy, so we're going to have a look at it. Now, in order to know what equivalent fractions are, we need to know what equivalent means. Now, equivalent just means basically the same as equal. It means the same as. So when we say equivalent fractions, we are looking for fractions that are the same. They represent the same amount, okay? So we know a fraction is a part of a whole. So equivalent fractions are two different fractions that show the same amount of a whole, okay? Now remember, when we look at fractions, the top number is the numerator and the bottom number is the denominator. So let's have a look. So we've got a numerator and a denominator there, okay? Now these have different denominators on the bottom. So these are two different fractions. We have 1/2, 1/2, and 2/4, 2/4. But if we get two shapes up, we can see that these two fractions are actually the same. Because if we get a square, this is the whole, that's two exactly the same size. We've broke that into two, so it's halves, and shaded 1/2, one of the two sections. On this section, we've broken into 4 equal parts, okay? Remember, a fraction is equal parts. Broken into 4, we've put it in 2, like it says, and we can see if we put them together, the same amount is shaded pink on both shapes. So those fractions are equivalent, they are the same. But we can't always just draw a shape in order to find out what fractions are equivalent, because it's going to take too long. If we get on the big fractions like 70ths and 80ths, we're going to be there for a long time drawing and measuring and stuff like that. So we need a quicker way to do it. So I'm going to show you, if you get a fraction, how you can find some equivalent fractions from it. So we have a half here and 2/4. Now we know they're the same because we've just seen a visual representation of that. But what we can do to find equivalent fractions is simply times that fraction by a number, any number we want. So here I've got a half and I've times it by 2 to get 2/4. So when you times a fraction, you times the top number and the bottom number by the same number. So whatever you do at the bottom, you have to do at the top. Whatever you do at the top, you have to do at the bottom to keep it equivalent. So if I times the 2 by 2, I get 4. Times 1 by 2, I get 2. So I know that those are equivalent. But because I know I can multiply to get a fraction that has bigger numbers for the denominators, okay, or the numerators, I can also divide to do the reverse of that. So if I had 2/4 and I was looking for a fraction that had a smaller denominator but was the same, I could divide it by 2. Again, doing the same to the bottom as the top, doing the same to the denominator as I do to the numerator. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay, so let's look at that again. With this one, I've got 2/8, and I divided my 8 by 2 to get 4. So I have to do the same to my numerator. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay, let's look at the reverse of that. We've got 1/4. If we times that by 2, okay, 4 times 2 is 8, and 1 times 2 is 2. So we know 1/4 is the same as 2/8 because we've done the same to the denominator as we have to the numerator. Okay? Now, we need to remember that to find an equivalent fraction, all we have to do is either multiply or divide the numerator and the denominator by the same number. Okay? What we also have to remember is, this is really important, whatever we do at the top, the numerator, we have to do at the bottom. Or whatever we do at the denominator, the bottom, we have to do at the top, the numerator, in order to keep them equivalent. Okay? So, when we were looking at that, we had a half, and we knew it was the same as 2/4, so we times it by 2. But it doesn't just have to be times and divided by 2, which we looked at there. You could times it by anything. So you could have a half, 1/2. You could times that by 10. So we know 2 times 10 is 20, and 1 times 10 is 10. So we know 10/20ths is the same as 1/2. We could have 1/4, okay? So say we had 1/4, and we think, right, this time we're going to times it by 5. So if we times the 4 on the bottom by 5, we would get 20. And when we times the top 1 by 5, we get 5. So we then know that 5/20ths is the same, it is equivalent to 1/4. I hope that helped out. If it did, please give us a thumbs up. If there are any more questions, obviously put them in the comments and I'll try and get back to you. And if you know anyone that this video will help, of course, share it, and hopefully we can help some other people as well. Until next time, see you.